And now on to the last topic. And I don't think I ever got a chance to start with Lord Mateus. So this time, dang it, I'm starting with Lord Mateus. He finally gets the opportunity to go first. All right. So this is a sandbox style versus railroad style, how to use each style. So what tools or resources do you find most helpful for running sandbox style games?
Random tables, random tables, random tables.
Random tables, maybe?
Random tables.
Okay.
I think
random tables,
especially if they're random.
Gotcha.
I think so. Like, you have your map, you populate it, and then when you press play and the players go and they start going through the map, your encounter tables are going to help generate what happens while they're out in the wilderness. I've been starting to get into using weather tables to like add an element to the encounters they have. Random NPCs they might encounter, name generators I think are really useful, because there's trying to come up with various versions of.
No one is worse than this guy here with coming up with names.
Yeah.
Is there any of us who would disagree? Names are the hardest.
Yeah. Oh, I remember one time, but he ended up becoming like a major villain actually. But I'm like, oh crap! They found like this evil elf sword master. It was back in the Blade Singer days of 2E, and I just was like looking at, and I saw the word saber. I put an apostrophe. I'm like, his name is Sabre. Ooh.
Hey.
But anyway. But random tables will random tables is how you do it, and I think you can do a lot with just the basic random tables. I know in like something like Shadow Dark, they have very specific encounters in those random tables, and while I think those are interesting, I prefer just you find orcs and then you look at the orc chart, right? The orc entry, and like, okay, there's 2d6 orcs, and then you roll for
2d6
or whatever it is.
Supposed to be like up to 300.
Well, it could be that too, depending on what.
I'm just messing with you.
30.
But there you go. But then you roll their reaction. Maybe they're confused. Maybe they're actually kind of friendly, and then you get to kind of have some fun with that. And which dovetails into the next thing. And I've been saying this: know your Appendix N. Whatever your world is, like if you did roll friendly orcs, why are they friendly? And that way you have like this consistent world that is randomly, in its sense, randomly generated as they're going through. But random tables, I think those are key. Okay. Those are key.
So your follow-up question is going to be a two-parter, sort of, because I want to put this up right here. Consider this. You don't have to answer it directly right now, but consider this when you answer my follow-up, okay? So Adino says, what books do the panelists recommend that have random tables? I knew somebody's going to pull up. Well, by the way, the best Dungeon Master guide ever, while I'm a 2E guy, the 1E Dungeon Master guide is by far the superior one. But with that said, so how do you use random encounter tables or generators in your sandbox campaign? And like, what is the impact that they have on the game?
Well, how do I use them? Essentially, encounter generation is literally like I just use the basic procedures. And so like if they're surprised, like, okay, take for example a group of goblins that are surprised in the forest. Okay, that's going to be a very that's going to be a very radically different encounter than a group of goblins that aren't surprised and are hostile, or a group of goblins that aren't surprised but are friendly. I mean, it's going to totally change the way the encounter goes. And that's all I do. I roll that, and then like I said, I just draw from the lore, my Appendix N, to figure out like, why are they friendly goblins or whatever. We had in my Lamentations game, they came up with like this bizarre, wasn't bizarre, but they basically a false
it's Lamentations flag. It was bizarre.
A false flag operation to convince the people of Nulb, the little village outside the Temple of Elemental Evil, that they were the good guys. So what they did was they allied with the lizard men that were like, I rolled randomly outside of town to basically have the lizard men attack the town, and then the heroes fought them off. And then they would just feed the lizard men dead bodies from the town instead of burying them. So that generated like this really interesting thing. And then I decided to have some fun, and I made up my own little lizardmen class for Lamentations of the Flame Princess. So now I got lizardmen characters running around in my game. this is what my lore was, and
Tools
this
or
is
books
how it
do you
works.
use for these random generators, though?
Oh, that was all me. I made my own random encounter tables.
Oh, okay.
Because I think the world is the game master's character, and so and that character is expressed through the encounter tables in some respect.
I actually agree with that because I modify the actual ones that come with the game to fit my needs. So I agree with that premise. All right, Heathen Dog.
Oh, thank you. I wanted to go next because my answer is going to be purely theoretical, and it's actually based on something Sean said earlier in the program.
So, what tools and resources do you find most helpful for running sandbox style games? Got it.
What I would find most helpful are maps. If I run a sandbox game, I would have to have a map of the world, and as prep, I would have to know at least generally everything in the world. That way, no matter where the players go, no matter what they do, I will have an answer that at the very least makes sense.
Yeah, prompts to help you come up
Exactly,
with stuff like,
right? You know, I'll have a map for them and a map for me. Mine is going to have a shit ton of notes on it. There it isn't. Mine's going to have the notes. So whatever they do, wherever they go, they will encounter a being, a group of people, a precipice, a forest fire, whatever, and it'll make sense in the world. I think that would be the greatest help for a sandbox GM.
If only you were a sandbox GM, I have a perfect follow-up question for you, but I can't ask it because you don't do it. So I have to, because it's literally about mapping tools and software. But I'm gonna head on down to.
I've used mapping tools. I have the AD&D second edition CD-ROM program, and it has a mapper. It has a
great one.
Yeah, it has a map maker on there, and I've used that to generate a large area for the player characters who bought a map or whatever. You know, whenever they buy a map, it's like, okay, well, now I got to make a map, you dick. So I had to make a map, and there you go, right? So yeah, that is definitely helpful, and it's a whole lot easier because I personally cannot draw.
If
I can't. If you put a gun to my wife's head and said, draw a straight line that's greater than 3 inches long, my wife would be dead.
That's why I started using prepackaged campaign settings. They come with nice fold-out maps.
They come with really nice foldable maps. Yeah, they do.
As a graphic artist, the irony of this statement, I used to tell people I can't draw a stick figure to save my life because I can't. I can do layout and design. Don't ask me to draw. So I'm with you on that. Sean,
I mean, these guys covered it. Yeah, like charts, a little bit of prep, a little bit of knowledge of the immediate world. But you know, especially if you're ready to go off script. But I also like I have modules. Modules are great. I love open world modules or modules with like individual scenarios that I can just slip into a campaign that players can choose to ignore or not. Things like that are great to have on hand. Pre-generated scenarios that I can just flip through and read to prep if they're going for it. So just, you know, have materials, have things ready to go. Charts for random encounters, chart our pre-prep modules have a great map with places that players can choose to go to, and, you know, let them have access to it, print it up and give it to them. Here's your map. If you lose it, you've lost it, right?
Okay. What advice would you give to new GMs about choosing and implementing a style? Whether Railroad or Sandbox. Obviously, I know you lean a certain way, but what advice would you give them?
Well, try both, play both, and see what you like. You know, people getting into games, I always say try to find games first and play as many as you can. Try different DMs, and people who are looking to DM. Well, I always say you're going to want some experience playing too. You want to see both sides, but yeah, figure out what style you like, and then lean into that. You know, like I'm going to tell somebody I love the sandbox style, but it's not going to be like I could be if Heathen Dog were asking me for advice. You know, he'd play my way and go, "Fuck, I hate this shit," right? So, you know, try both and see what you like, and then go for that.
I can't find. Well, I have. So these guys were talking about tables. I used to, when I was younger, like 2 years ago, I had a map fetish. I used to collect National Geographics just for the maps, and I had until some moves happen, I had thousands of maps of various parts of the world, outer space, whatever. It didn't matter. I had maps that I could pull into anything. Unfortunately, I had to get rid of them. But I also have a bunch of books behind me, going all the way back to the old, was it the Flying Buffalo, the City Maker books, to the Essential Casting books, to some modern ones like that one by Matt Finch. I think I showed it off in a recent stream, but I can't see it right now. I have all types of books behind me that have random tables in there for everything possible. In fact, I've got so many of these tables I've forgotten where most of them are, what they do. So hopefully I don't have to run anything soon. But I love them. I love random tables, even if I'm not as random with them as, say, you. But I still love them.
I'm sure you can go on DriveThruRPG and how many third-party people have created just that. Just
yeah. There's a whole bunch of if you want like non-story resources, DriveThruRPG has a lot of that for you.
Mm-hmm.
A lot,
and
of
usually they're cheap. People are just like, hey, I just want to put this
$5,
up.
$3, $2, free sometimes.
Right. Pay as you go, yeah.
To your question about advice to new players, the other thing I'd say is you don't have to marry yourself to a style either. It's not like you're picking sides. Your taste will change as you evolve as a gamer too. So just keep an open mind. Try it all and see what you like.
Well, that's why I really feel like I'm in between it, because I'm definitely a Hickman Manifesto, Hickman Revolution type person theoretically. But I think that's more about high level stuff than low level stuff. I do agree that I don't like when you say troop play, you lose me. I'm out. I have zero interest in that as a player or a game master. I'm glad a lot of other people do it. I know the one time people like to give me crap about this stuff. I get why you do it. I understand it. Not for me. Don't want any part of it. Okay,
and
go do
your thing.
Years
ago, I would be 100% on that page, and then I started trying. I was like, no, this is the way to go. This just makes things so much smoother in a lot of ways. So it's like now I'm like all in on troop play.
Yeah, well, I mean, things could change in life. I'm not there at all. At the same time, I like to give the players freedom. I'm not against, you want to join the evil empire instead of be against it all of a sudden? Well, I don't have a problem with it. You're not ruining a story because I do these timelines, as I've talked about, and I'm not going to dive deeply into this, but Lord Mateus was talking before about making timelines. Yeah, I make timelines, and I adjust them constantly. I add new ones, I remove some out, depending on where they are in the game, the party, yada, yada. You can't do everything. You can't. It is all about just the world growing. So if you want to go down what you call the main plot, sure, you do it. You want to skip over to another timeline? You want to go stop this? You can do all of that. Ultimately, a timeline is either going to end, or it's either going to complete, or you're going to stop it. If you get it to 0, it's done. You win. If it goes to infinity, or actually it's the other way around. But anyway, if it goes to 0, the bad guys win. If you stretch it out to infinity, you effectively win. But I don't care. I don't care what you go after. But my bumpers are, you've got to go after something that's been presented to you. Like it's usually 5 different things, whatever. If you want to go off and just do your own stuff. Because of the players that I've had, I want to say yes, I allow it. But the players that I've had, I can't allow it. Because players think that they're smarter than they really are. And to be fair, as one, I sometimes think I'm smarter than I really am. Just makes sense. I give you all the logic in the world, and only a dumbass won't believe this. People think on emotion, not on intelligence. Well, this is just stupid. I've seen that kind of reaction in games. Like, you might think it's stupid, but do you watch the news? Do you read books? Do you see how people react to things? That's, and I was like, reaction roles is another random idea in there. Sorry, I don't want to keep going on this. This isn't about me. It's about you guys. But my point is kind of going with what you're saying. Yeah, that whole picking a style, I've gone from one somewhat extreme to another. And I've just found that really I'm in the middle of all of you guys.
Well, I would just want to add, I think too, for me being as a game master, what happens at the gaming table fascinates me. And I think, and that's where a lot of what I think about, like the meta stuff that's happening. I mean, we can discuss what rule system is better than this, that, or the other. And that's interesting. But what's really fascinates me is that what magic is happening at the game table. So the advice I would give is very similar to what Sean was saying, be a player, but and try both styles, especially if you have a passion for game mastering. You're going to want to, master the game. And I think you need to do both. But one thing I would also recommend is a mega dungeon as your first game. Because that's because it's kind of both. There's only one place the players are going. the dungeon. But once they're in there, if it's a well-designed mega dungeon, there's going to be a lot of opportunities to do whatever they want, go wherever they want, deal with the factions that are in there and negotiate with them. And it's all like self-contained. So,
Okay.
I mean, that's almost, to me, I was thinking about, is there a hybrid? And I'm thinking the mega dungeon campaign would be. I could be wrong. But
See, I'm very anti-module. Not that I'm against modules themselves. Just I don't like them myself. Use them because just the way my brain works. Not for this topic though. So I would struggle with the mega dungeon. But so what we're going to do now is I'm going to read a couple of chats, and then we're going to move on to the final question. One of the things I want to let people know, I know there's still some stuff going on in chat. This is not the end all be all of this entire topic. We can absolutely address this again. If you think there are more things that we could have touched upon, if you think that I didn't ask necessarily the right questions, really, we're just kind of just going, how do you do it for Railroad? How do you do it for Sandbox? How do you do it for Railroad? How do you do it for Sandbox? That's really how we're addressing this now. We can dive down many other avenues in a future episode. But for now, apparently, I think this is for Heathen Dog. Does Rifts have a big map?
Yeah, Earth.
Every single Rifts book, world book, source book, whatever, has a map of the entire region everything takes place in, usually broken down into subsections, nation states even, or just counties or provinces or whatever, that you will not only get a topographical map of that area, but you also get a population breakdown, OCC breakdown. You will get every single detail you need to make it feel real in every single Rift source book and world book.
So I was right about this. BioKitty he's talking about a big fold out map for Rifts.
Oh, okay, like a huge fold out map of the entire world.
Savage Rifts has one, doesn't it?
Maybe Savage Rift does, but I don't like cancer, so I don't.
When I ran Rifts, I just had a big world atlas. I used a real world map.
And you could. I mean, there's some changes,
you can adjust.
Florida's cut in half, things like. But yeah, generally speaking, it's Xanth.
But yeah, all the maps are there. If you want a map of the world, buy every world book, or buy every source book on Earth. You want a map of the entire world? Great. Get Rifts Australia, get Rifts Japan, get Rifts China, Russia, Great Britain, Africa, South America. They have all these books, and when you have them all, guess what? You've got a globe of what the world looks like 300 years in the future, or 400 years in the future, whatever. You got it.
The Edgelord, that is a good topic. If you have access to it, well, I shouldn't say if you have access, if you join the Some Rando RPG Livestream Discord server and post that there, or if you're already on the Legionofmyth server, I also read them there, you can post that topic. I think that is a good topic to cover. I really do. I'm actually finalizing the October topics now. September ones have already been posted, so it'd be November or later. But yeah, I think that is a good topic. And then the last thing, thank you for members for being a member for 8 months. It says, how do you handle equipment scaling between the two? I think he's talking about between Railroad style and Sandbox style.
Well, in a Railroad style, you will not get equipment that the game master hasn't already allowed to be present. You will not. Yeah, it's part of the script, man. I mean, you are not going to randomly get a +5 Holy Avenger. It's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. If you use random tables, it might happen. But in a Railroad game, that's never going to happen.
Funny you mentioned a +5 Holy Avenger. Right here is a physical prop for my AD&D game that I made up, which is a map for the Paladin to a +5 Holy Adventure, which he can choose to follow or not.
Okay,
nice. I was going to say to bounce off Heathen Dog, in my Lamentations game, which is Sandbox, the players have missed so many magic items because I do use modules, but they've missed a lot of magic items because they're just not going down there. They're just not looking in that direction. But in my 2E game that I ran back in the 90s, I mean, that was an epic quest. And I actually had a Paladin. He was the only surviving member of the original group, make it to 17th level before, attrition happened. But every magic item they found was one that I figured or I knew would be perfect for their character, and I placed it there. It was part of the script, so to speak. Mm-hmm. It's like that old Dead Alewives skit. Every potion you drank, I brewed. Like that's kind of how it works in the Railroad. Like you're putting it in there, and I think it's a good idea. Like if your players are like, I want to play a paladin that gets a Holy Adventure, put it in the game for them,
Mhm.
you know, because that's what they're looking for. That's
But you're
their
going to have to
expectation.
jump through a lot of hoops to get it. I mean,
Oh,
even
of course.
Sean has
Earn
it.
it.
You know,
Yeah.
Sean has it.
Yeah.
Hey, you want a Holy Avenger? That's great. Here's your tribes and tribulations on the way to get it.
Yeah.
Do you want to do it?
Yeah,
Well,
you're
it seems like a hassle. Well, you're not going to get it as a random loot. Get the hell out of
right. Yeah, you're
Well, you
not
might.
you're not going to go down to Costco and pick
here. See,
one up.
he might.
Yeah.
He might. Oh God.
You might. Random loot is a thing, and powerful items can come to the players. So
Keep
I
them
don't mind.
poor. I mean poor on magic too.
But that's just it. My group has given up 2 bags of holding because the value of the bag of holding was far more valuable to them than like the XP they got from selling it than keeping a bag of holding. So they're like lamenting. It's like two. It's like they were screaming at me. But it was great. Say, all right, let's give it up. But now they have leveled characters.
All right, we are going to move on to the last question of the night, or last primary question of the night. I'm once again, you know what, just going to start with Lord Mateus. This time I'm going to go backward. Lord Mateus, Sean, and then Heathen Dog. So, Lord Mateus, basically the same question. We're just flipping the script again. What tools or resources do you find most helpful for running railroad-style games?
Well, I don't want to sound like a broken record, so I'm just going to skip what I think everyone else is going to say. So I'm just going to go right to it. Rip off your favorite movies, books, comic books. Just rip them off. You're not, I mean, and this, I don't mean this as like an insult. Like, I think if you go on TTRPG Twitter, they'll use it as an insult. But, you know, you're not an author, and that's okay. But if you want to tell a story, borrow from what has worked in the past. And that goes back to what I mean by your Appendix N. What stories, what movies, what characters, hell, even what actors and authors like really motivate you and get you jazzed about fantasy, sword and sorcery, sci-fi, horror, whatever it is. Rip them off. And your players, even if they suspect, they're not going to care. Especially if they bought in, they're having a fun, you know, they're really happy they bought that ticket for the ride. They're not going to care. So
they love it when they get the reference too, when they recognize.
Oh yeah,
that's
true. That is absolutely true. You know, so that would be my biggest recommendation if you're going to do this.
So what's funny about that is I'm spilling something here that I was going to wait till Sunday to do, but you know what? Friday viewers are going to get it early, but you have to watch it live because this will have happened. On August 23rd, I think it is, I will be actually playing in a Twilight 2000 game run by somebody else at work. And he is basing the game off of Apocalypse Now.
Oh, wow.
So that means just using your example right there. He's like, I got this Apocalypse Now idea that I want to do. I'm like, well, that's awesome. Let's do it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'll be a player in that game. Now, is it going to be exactly the movie? No, it's going to be tweaked, but you get the idea. You're going to be in that scenario, that theme, etc. So I'm in full agreement. Rip off books, rip off novels, tweak them, rip off other game masters that didn't do what you think they should have done.
That's good advice too, I think. Yeah.
All right, Sean, same question for you. What tools or resources do you find most helpful for running a railroad style game?
Well, obviously your own notes. If you're railroading, if you're creating a story, you need to know your beats. So have those notes, have them ready, review them, and have an idea. Like, you know, as you say, you watch movies, that read books, take from books and movies. You know, if you're feeling a little low, go watch something in the genre you're playing in. You know, because it's amazing what will come to you in the middle of a movie. You know, even from a sandbox perspective, you know, I'll be watching a movie and I'll like, that might be a good hook, and you know, write it down. So definitely keep the inspiration coming. Sorry, I had another note here. Another resource. That was it. Yes, cat o' nine tails or a rolled up newspaper to bat them on the nose when they go off script. Well, keep that on hand. Yeah.
So. How do I want to do this? I want to save that one for Heathen Dog. So how do you utilize NPC guides or character sheets to enhance, I don't want to go with the word, but I'm going to do it, to enhance the storytelling, to enhance the railroad, and ensure key interactions occur in a railroad game?
It's been so long since I've had to railroad anything, I guess. You know, they're just there, you know. If the story is being guided, then they're going to end up dealing with the people that they have to deal with to get whatever information they need to get. unless they're really, really going out of their way to say, no, I don't want to talk to that asshole. He called me whatever, and then, but he's got the key information, so it's just going to happen. Now, on the flip side, for Sandbox, it's trickier because you don't want to put it in front of them. You need them to go find it sometimes. But yeah, no, I just for Railroad, it would just hapen. It's like, all right,
quantum ogre, as you like to say,
the quantum ogre, the quantum NPC, the quantum quest giver, whatever you want to call it. He's got
an exclamation point over his head.
Yeah, he's got the. they're just going to show up and they're going to give the players the information they need if they need them on track.
So I got a different follow-up question for you, but when it comes to the free, the open, you can piggyback on that one. But I want to get to you for the real question, which is, what tools or resources do you find most helpful for running your Railroad style games?
Well, Sean was halfway there. You have to plan out your story. You have to bring it from beginning to end. And then you have to create waypoints from the beginning to the end. Your job is to get the players to these waypoints in order, in some kind of fashion you deem timely. But the other part of that is, players by default are selfish bastards. So you use that to your advantage. You do that with two things. One, the very first time they come in contact with an evil lieutenant, you do your best so that every player hates him. And then he has something that he tells the players they can never have. They're going to want it. They'll move heaven and earth to get it. And that moves them along your plot. Stuff like that. The other part is this is how I deal with life too. I deal with railroading players. You think of 4 things that could go wrong. I want them to do this. What are the 4 things that go wrong? The first most likely thing that will go wrong, and then the 3 least likely things that will go wrong, because players will always come at you asymmetrically. They'll always come at you sideways and screw up your day. So you think of the 3 out of the box, could never actually happen in real life, things that go wrong. I swear to God, half the time someone comes up with that.
Once you have your list of 4, throw it away because they'll do something entirely different, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the you plan for those 4 problems, and that'll be 90% of your issues right there, just gone.
Do you use any world building tools other than your own noggin in a notebook? Do you use any world building tools?
Well, yeah, I mean, what
World Anvil is just as an example.
Yeah, I understand. What Matei's saying, like, rip people off. In the Rifter, what was it, 2 or 3? There was a whole thing about most people do that. Here's how to tweak it so you can either mask it or change it enough to where it's not plagiarism.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Let me be wrong. I'm talking like online tools or Google Drive or whatever.
No.
Okay.
No. Railroading is all about the preparation and psychology. That's it. You have to be prepared, and you have to know how to herd all these sheep to the pasture where you want them to be. Even the rabid ones.
Okay.
You have to learn how to do it.
So this is, I wanted to ask this one to Heath. This is going to be fun. How do you incorporate player feedback and adjust the narrative using session recap and planning tools?
Okay. Well, I've done it with you. In our mage game that we played when we were in the military. At the end of every game session, I asked the players to keep a journal on what your character learned, and or if your views have changed. And I gave you experience based on not what I thought was right, but it sounds like something your character would actually think of. You're writing it in character. It's like your character's journal, right? And I can use that to get a litmus test of where the players are, where their characters are. If their characters are happy, the player's probably happy. If their characters are like, oh, they're had horrible day today, it was all, then the character's not happy. The players probably isn't happy either. So I would make fine-tune adjustments. Maybe Billy's character is not going to be part of the random accident, today, because, they always put like some random stuff in there that doesn't matter. Like, car breaks down, horse dies, gets stolen, whatever, stuff like that. Random bad crap happens, right? It's not going to happen to Billy's character because Billy's character apparently has taken a lot of L's. Stuff like that. Keep the sheeple happy, right? So they just keep walking along the path that you've paved.
Okay. Was there something you want, Sean? Was it something? No, I think it's Lord Mateus. There's something you want to say? I thought, like, basically agreeing and giving an example, or was I mistaken?
No, just something
Okay.
you said earlier.
Well, so then, Heathen Dog, did you? So this is I'll let you start here because you wanted to say something about what they were talking about earlier. If you remember what it is for the kind of the open discussion. You wanted to say something on when how do you utilize NPC guides, character sheets to enhance the storytelling, ensure key interactions in a railroad game? That was the question I asked Sean, and you.
Oh no! I already did it. He said
Okay.
the maps. The maps was it. His, like I said, all of my sandbox stuff is theoretical. But when he said maps, I was like, correct. That would probably be the number one.
No, this was for a railroad. This was
it's for railroad. Yeah. Then I don't remember.
Okay, no problem. All right. Any final things that you guys want to talk about with each other on this? Any final alibis? Anything else? I do have a couple of comments starred, but anything to wrap up that you did not get to say or you want to address from somebody else? Now is the time to speak or forever hold your peace. The last thing I want to remind folks again one more time is that we can address this in the future. If you don't like the questions I asked, if you think more could have been done, if you think we could have gone a different direction, we can do this again in a couple of months. So go ahead, guys.
I want to go first. Because I realize that my overt seeming hatred of players can come off as ignorant and dickish. I understand, and I own that. I completely own that. Now, you don't have to think of players like me to run a good railroad game. A railroad game is more about the collective story than the individual stories. So you want to push the collective story narrative. And as the group, they are the group of heroes or villains, and they must accomplish this goal to cement themselves in the annals of history. That's the story you want to present. You just have to learn tips, tricks, and tools to be the bumper on their bowling lane to get them to the pins. That's all you have to do. Make sure they don't gutter ball. That's it. It's really not that obtrusive unless you make it so. They don't have to see the rails. They don't have to. Because they can meander a little bit. Not a lot. Because that's where the bumper comes in. Bumps them back into play. But they can meander, and 90% of players will be happy with that. They can do their own thing as long as it doesn't destroy or harm the game master's story. It's fine. And once the players understand that, they will work within the system to get more of what they want as well. So being super heavy-handed, like, Lord Mateus over there, smiting down everyone or whatnot, may not be your preferred style and may not be effective at your table. Small hints and clues that escalate over time could be enough to bring your players in line. So
here's what I've noticed.
That out.
Here's what I've noticed is that once players see the matrix, once they see the code, it's harder to railroad them because you have a more jaded approach. Now, in similar to what you were saying about your preferred style, Sandbox is the same. Once you have the tricks down, it becomes a joy. It becomes very easy to play that. And the key to it is once you know your system, just sit back and let the system do the work. and that really makes a difference for sandbox play. You can just adjudicate based on how the system lets you do it. You don't have to worry about making too many rulings. I mean, if your rules light, you have to go there a little bit, but the system will still do the heavy lifting, and then you can just see what happens. And that for me, it's like, sorry, I can't speak. I'm running out of steam here. That is where the real meat will come. And once players, and this is something I've noticed with the circles I've traveled in, players who have enjoyed the linear and the sandbox style, once they see that the code of the matrix, and that they realize that they are being pushed to an end, and their choices are really meaningless or minimal, they actually prefer that open world style, and it becomes a whole new experience.
Yeah,
kind of rambly, sorry, but
no. Go to Mateus, you wanted to piggyback on that?
Yeah, kind of like a final thought of sorts. I think being a game master is not necessarily about a power trip. I think it's more very very creative players. I mean, I think if you have you look at your basic gaming group, the one that's like super creative and really in the clouds all the time is most likely going to be your game master. And back in the 90s, when I was running my Railroad Forgotten Realms game, like I had there was a lot of joy in putting things together, getting to know the characters, getting to know what they might want, and how their actions and to affect the change and bring goodness into the world and fight the evil was a lot of fun. Like I said, there's a little bit of burnout that goes with that, but there was a lot of joy. Now with like my Lamentations game sandbox, I had the exact same amount of joy like putting that together. It's really just a matter of, I think, preference. Like, where do you want to go, and what do you how much work do you want to put in as you're going along, or do you want to put it all up front? And then of course, yeah, there's some significant differences that we have been talking about, but I think there's a joy there. And if you like doing the work either ahead of time or during the game, I mean, that's going to ultimately determine your style.
So the final comment I'm going to have, and then we'll wrap this up here, is there's some truth to what Sean said, and here's what I'm going to say. I probably said it to Heathen Dog before, I don't know. Knowing what Heathen Dog does now makes me less inspired to be in his games. Yet, knowing that I've been in his games and I had fun would make me still want to play in the games. I hope that makes sense to folks. But yeah, once you know how the magic trick is done, it's less interesting.
I mean, a good game's still a good game.
True. And I'm the type of player that I'm willing to play along to some degree. Like I said, in Bear's Codex Albana game, in the way he ran his mage game. I understand if I'm playing like a Call of Cthulhu episodic type thing, I get it. We're to go after and find out what this shenanigans is about. I get all that. And yes, I am that type of player that will play along with that as long as I'm not being controlled. But there is, I will say, there is a little bit of the luster dulling, so to speak, because of that. And I'm a little more like, but I'd still do it. It's not about Heathen Dog. My point being is like what you said, Sean, was once you know that that's the trick, it kind of becomes like, well, okay, fine, we'll finish this up, I guess, So I can understand that. I'm overselling it a little bit right now, but no, I thought Heathen Dog ran great games, like when he's in his mage game, and the people who was in his Call of Cthulhu game, his other Call of Cthulhu game, actually said they all had good times, and a couple of the people in there were some pure sandbox players, and they said they had a really good time because they respected the game master, with regard to that. Now, Heathen Dog,
respect my authority.
There you go. Are you going to do Call of Cthulhu again this year? Or are you thinking about Paranoia?
I was thinking about Paranoia, second edition. Yeah.
Yes. I want to be there, but I'll have to be sleeping while you're doing that.
It's the best edition of Paranoia.
Yes. So, okay. One last time, I'm going to ask you guys any final comments, because otherwise there's going to be one other thing you guys got to do, but I got to go through the end here. I know Heathen Dog needs to go. So
I'll go first.
Well, no. I got okay. Well, if you got a final comment for that,
yeah.
Because I'm gonna still have one more thing for you, but okay, go ahead.
I will admit, like I said, I came off pretty aggressive and ignorant during this entire thing. I respect that, but listening to Sean and Mateus, I have a larger respect, grudgingly so maybe, but a larger respect for the Sandbox Game Master and that type of game. I'm not going to say I'm going to do it, but I'm going to say I get it. That's as far as I can go. I get it.
Well, I'm kind of running out of steam too, and where I was kind of going with the joy thing, as I think if you have the joy, the players are going to enjoy it too. And unlike you, Max, like if I know I'm kind of I am like you in the sense that I will go along with it. Like if I know it's Call of Cthulhu, it's going to be kind of like we're going into this episodic thing. But I'm not going to lose any luster so long as the game master's enjoying it and it's clear that there's enthusiasm and it's coming through. Frankly, Heathen Dog, I'd love to be in one of your games. I think it'd be kind of cool. Frankly, it sounds like you know what you're doing.
In August, September, we'll start talking about getting signups or whatever for his game.
Oh, well, cool. But I mean that as a compliment. Like I don't think So
I'm gonna get in this game so I can ruin it.
Oh, and yeah. Anyway, that's all I really have to say. Like I just think the joy will come out, and you'll as a game master you'll pick the right one, that the style that works for you, and if you're enjoying it, that joy will come out, and I think your players will like it too. So,
okay. All right, then, before we go into Super Chats, we'll have our panel remind us who they are, what they create, and where you can find them on the internet. We will start with Heathen Dog, just go around the horn here. Once again, it's kind of like how we started the stream. We'll end it the same way, full circle here. Who are you? What do you create? What do you do? And you don't have to give us your RPG experience anymore. That doesn't matter at this point.
Doesn't matter at this point. I was either completely lying or I was completely telling the truth the entire night. No, Heathen Dog. My name is Brett Grismer. You can find me here reviewing tabletop role-playing games. If you go back long enough in the timeline, like 5 years ago and more, I also reviewed anime off of Netflix and Hulu because at the time they were free.
They don't have access to those videos.
They don't have access to those videos anymore? Oh, man. I did a whole bunch of, I would watch an entire season.
Yep, they still exist,
my
but they don't have access to them.
And you burned it?
No, they still exist. They just don't have access to it. I'll explain later.
God damn it. Okay, whatever. But okay, now I'm sad now. I'm legit sad.
They also don't have access to the comic book reviews either.
I know, it's horrible. But and now I review role-playing games, new and old. I've specialized just because I have a lot of the books. I specialized in Palladium, and we got a lot of traction for it. So awesome! I still do Palladium, including I do at least one or two Rifter issues every month. I'm on 6.
Those are getting
There's
good
85,
views.
so plenty more to go. So yeah, that's what I do. And and I saw it in chat early. Don't think I didn't see it. I don't create nothing. That's right. I just tell it. I just tell people if they suck or not. That's my job.
There you go. Okay, Sean. Again, tell people who you are, where they can find you, what what content creator, etc. What do you make?
Yeah. Sean with the Mage's Musings. It's a YouTube channel where I basically talk theory, mainly D&D. I'm D&D focused. The two hosts of my show are the Puppet Wizard, Merlinster Gendeldor. Look at this guy. He's sleeping with the hat on, and his co-host, the Demi Lich, Ace Eric. The brunt of my show is game recap. So the two games I've been talking about, the AD&D Night Below game and my Keep on the Borderland Old School Essentials games, are recapped. I use little standees and give it sort of a semi-cartoon feel. I call them review caps. So what I do is I recap the part of the game that was played, and then I discuss the part of the game that's played and review that portion of whatever module. So just the portion, so it's bit by bit. And so both have an ongoing campaign. The OSE is 31 episodes in. You can see the rotation, the West Marches style. Night Below is, we're 24, 25 in, but I just posted the 18th episode today. And that one actually follows two different groups. The first 13 follow the Assassin's Guild, so an evil team, following the plot line of Night Below, and then they were swapped out for Team Goody Good. So that's the brunt. And then and you know, I do the odd thing, like I did a thing earlier this week where I reacted to that ridiculous copyright strike by WotC against Jordan and some other copyright creator or content creators. Things like that. That's I try to keep it fun and light. It's generally family friendly with, you know,
He's Canadian. It's going to be all stories and, you know, yes sirs. No.
I originally was going to have the wizard be a foul-mouthed bastard, and then I decided, you know, I'm going to keep it clean.
By the way, I didn't have the links to their channels in the description before, but they are there now. So anybody watching can, and when this goes to video, it'll definitely be there. All right, Lord Mateus, wrap this up before we get into the chat that we got to look at with who you are, where they can find you, what content you create.
Lord Mattias, you can find me on Twitter. I have a YouTube channel and a blog. Both the blog and the YouTube channel talk about games. I do some actual plays on my YouTube channel. I got nothing against the flip through review, but I think you don't really get much out of them. So like I play these games and then I do deep dives into like the modules, the games. There's a heavy emphasis on indie games, specifically Lamentations of the Flame Princess, because I love that company. But you know, I play a lot. I don't usually run the more standard stuff. If you want standard stuff, you know, D&D and stuff, there's like Sean and stuff like that. I get up on the indie scene. And I'm also an amateur writer, author, you know, game designer. I published a module for the Lamentations called A Gift for All in Norway. I also published for the Red Room. And there's some more stuff coming out for that. So please check me out. I'm interested in growing my channel, and I might even be doing a live stream with a good old friend of mine starting in a month. So.
Starting to pick on. It's work, man. I'm gonna tell you, it's work. It's just you said Lord Mattias. Have we been saying your name wrong for like the last 10 years?
Well, Lord Mattias, Mateus, like it doesn't matter.
Okay. I've always called it Lord Mateus.
Same with my wife. Same wife. Her name is Kara, but some people call her Kara. And to actually pronounce her name correctly, you have to be from the middle of the East Coast. I cannot pronounce her name correctly. It's the whole gag where you say no, Kara, no, Kara. See, I don't hear the difference, but there's a difference. You just can't hear it.
I suffer the same thing when people tell me I say the word bag wrong. I'm like, it's bag. I'm like, that's what I'm saying. No, you're saying bag. Well, it sounds the same to me. I cannot change. It's bag, it's plague, it's bagel. If you don't like it, too bad. I'm from Minnesota. I'm hearing what you're saying. You're not. All right, let's go on. So I get that 100%. All right, let's hit these chats and then we'll call it a night. Where the hell did this start? Oh, all the way up here. Okay. So Brian James says, Elizabeth, do some RPG brands do sandbox style better than others? I'll leave that for the panel to answer. What do you guys think?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Can you name one just off the cuff?
One.
Well, D&D, the old school D&D is predicated around the sandbox.
TSR D&D?
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
I would agree with that. Lamentations of the Flame Princess, a lot of the retro clones are better. I think Free League's
Forbidden Lands, yes,
is really good. And what's interesting about Free League too is that they also kind of do some what I would consider more railroady style games. And that's why I think Free League is kind of set to maybe dominate the market in a couple of years. But that's a conversation for another day.
And by the way, we cover a lot of Free League games here, so come to our channel for all your Free League needs. All right, the Edgelord says, is that a type of episodic play when you do TV ideas for games?
No, you have to have a game system that is compatible with episodic play. And what Lord Mattias was saying earlier was that horror and investigative games really do lend themselves to monster or problem of the week.
Yep.
They really do. It fits really well. I mean, if you want to play an X-Files type game, well, there's a whole bunch of games that fit that X-Files format. You have to find the right game, but then the monster of the week is just going to come naturally with some games.
I hate you, Crafty. He's kind of telling the truth on that one. Timothy Ferrelli says, gutter balls are always an option. I had one party actually become Strahd's PR team at the end of the campaign. I want Heathen Dog to go first on this one.
That is absolutely ridiculous. Timothy Ferrelli. I'm gonna go full Dan Aykroyd NSL.
Uh-oh.
Jane, you ignorant slut. No, gutter balls are not an option. If you want to play a sandbox game and you want to watch your players drown in the sand, if that's what gets you off, you perv, fine, do that. But if you actually want to get your players to the end so they can shoot their shot, you have to be a bumper. Gutter balls are not an option. Sorry.
Crafty says, we didn't go in the house. So I guess this is about the game that you ran.
Yeah. This is about Shroom Fellas. This is the first live stream Call of Cthulhu game. You didn't want to go in the house, and I knew you were going to go in the house because there was no other option for you to do but to go in the house, because your job was to intimidate the people who lived in the house. If they did not come out, you would have to go in. I just had to wait you out doing stupid shit outside the house. I just had to wait you out. That's it. And then you went in, and you did, because you had to. If you wanted to burn their house down, that wasn't your orders. Your orders were to do something different, not murder hobo them. So if you murder hobo them, then the capo would cap you, right? So
right, we're not going to dive, Crafty. We're not going to dive down that discussion. But he says not that house, the one with the mushroom demon. You guys can.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, we're not going to dive further into that, but we're just getting into the mind of Heathen Dog a little more. $2 super chat from the Edgelord. I ran a Railroad Forgotten Realms until Dark Sun called. I hate Dark Sun.
I don't like Dark Sun. I mean, I like it.
I love it. It's awesome.
I know. I like. I do not like the Defiler Preserver dynamic. I don't like it at all. And I don't think that psionics is very strong in second edition D&D anyway.
Wait. No, it's overpowered in second edition D&D.
I meant strong as a system.
Oh, okay,
like,
okay. Yeah.
It's does good stuff. There are a lot of other game systems that does psionics better. But yeah, I just didn't. I like the general idea, just not how it was implemented.
I don't like games that go too far away from the tropes when, D&D has its own tropes, and that game is nothing but trope breaking. Bug people is stupid. Man-eating halflings is stupid. Preservers and defilers is stupid.
Awesome.
Moles are stupid.
I think cannibalistic halflings are the natural evolution because they love to eat.
Yeah, it makes total sense.
The world is retarded. The only reason I like it now is because it makes a different school, because it has all the slavery.
Right?
Yeah, maybe because it has all the slavery and everything in there. But no, I despise Dark Sun. Like almost everything about it. Oh, look, I cast a spell, plants grow. Oh, look, I cast a spell, plants. Shut up. Clown shoes. That's clown shoes.
No. Sandals, because it's hot.
Fair. Lodog says, Heathen Dog, the Rifter reviews are awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for reminding me, Lawdog. Mateus, I want you to. You said you don't like page flipping reviews. That's not what I do. He does that.
Not really reviewing. We're going over the game.
Yeah. But what I do, especially for the Rifter, there's 10 to 12 articles in the Rifter. I'll read them all, and then I will give 5 minute overview of each one, and then I'll pick 2 to go into a deep dive. That's not read every word, flip every page. It's I'll set you up, I'll explain what it does, my ideas on it, how did this affect me, stuff like that. And if I think it's worth you buying it,
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I meant by. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. He does the what I think you would consider page flipping, where we actually flip through the pages.
And I'm going to address that a little bit more on Sunday, because we got some comments related to that I have to address.
That's actually not what I'm talking about.
Not what you're talking about.
Someone pulls out the book and they're like, "Look!
Oh, flip through the page on camera.
Oh, look at this! Oh, look, great card stock and cool art.
Almost like an unboxing.
I'm an aspiring hand model.
Yeah, like it's like, dude, I can see the Cheeto dust on your fingers. That doesn't tell me whether I should buy the module or not, or the product or not.
Yeah.
That's why like I'll do like an actual play, and I know a lot of people don't like actual plays, and I know a particular YouTuber who hates my actual plays. But I'll do the actual plays to prove that I actually used them, right? And that's like to show receipts, and I'll be like, okay, I used this last week or whatever. I just recently did one on a Red and Pleasant Land. Now that Zach S is back to Lamentations, and we just did like a whole like sub game in my Lamentations sandbox that took them to a Red and Pleasant Land. And I went through and I talked about it and like why I think it's like one of the best module setting books I've ever read, and it's a real challenging one. But go watch that video.
So hey, Paydar, we grew this channel off of ranting, so this is nothing compared to what we used to do. But yes, might have an opinion here and there, and might express it a little more abruptly. The Rifter reprints are now available. I don't think all of them. I think there were like 3 of them that they decided to add to the reprints. They're gonna have little stamps on them that basically say, "Hey, this is the reprint," so that people who have the original can say, "I have the collector's version."
The original, yeah.
But that's the only change they're making to them, is just putting a little stamp on there, just so you know that you can't hawk your wares as something that it's not. So, all right. Heathen Dog. Now, this is about you covering Palladium games. Is it because Palladium requires more structure?
Initially, it was just because I have a ton of Palladium books. I have a ton of them, so I had content for years. That it started off as a logical, economical step. That's what it was, and then as I started reading them, I realized that. You know what? Yeah, it does have a lot of each book is so structured to fill in every flavor and nuance about that area of the planet, or that planet in the galaxy, or whatever, that if you read the book 3 times, you can run it in your sleep. You know exactly how everyone's going to think, feel, react to whatever the players do. It's that precise.
So he says for Pro Railroad, he meant about Palladium.
Yeah, for Pro, definitely. I mean, you know exactly what the NPCs would do, so you can plan. This NPC encounter is going to happen here because, and any logical player will use that information to go to place B, and get them to fight C. Stuff like that. So the more structured the world is, the more your rails kind of like secede into the ground while still being effective, because there's so much flavor and backstory everywhere that the players do not feel the bumps or see the rails. It's great.
Okay. 2 more. Best comment of the night. Dark Sun is the single most overrated setting except for Planescape. Planescape is absolute garbage. Use the Manual of the Planes from first edition. It is by far superior to Planescape nonsense, which basically they just ended up rolling into 3E, which is also garbage. And I have no problem saying that, and don't care if you like it or not.
I have the Planescape box set.
Why?
And
so do I. I shouldn't say it. So do I.
I bought it. What do you want? What do you want, man? What do you want? I bought it. But I was never. How am I going to say this? I was never immersed into the presented culture. It just rubbed me the wrong way. The whole Burke and Sauter and all that stuff, the pseudo 1800s British slang, it didn't get me. Maybe that's just me. That's fine. It didn't resonate in me except for ew.
Sigil was what ended it for me. Everything else I could have probably tolerated, but Sigil, there's this floating little queen walk around that stops the blood war. No, she doesn't. No, that
stops all greater gods from doing what they want. Shut up.
All right, we're not here to talk about that. Just going crazy along segment 4, and then finally, Crafty makes an actually correct Legion of
It's
Myth
sad.
covers Free League games, and then those games go out of print. Legion of Myth is the angel of death for TTRPG games. We covered Mutant Year Zero. Well, Mutant Year Zero is now being covered by the same company that's taken over for the Modiphius games as well, Mutant Chronicles and Conan. I forget the name of the company. Starts with an H. Somebody can look it up. Then we got Coriolis, right? Oh, Coriolis is a game I really like. Oh, but now they've got a new version of Coriolis, theoretically compatible with the original version, but this whole new version of Coriolis. They just announced the other day, Alien is coming out with a new edition of the game. We just covered Alien. Oh, it's still going to be compatible with first edition. Stop it. Free League, stop it.
So you need to stick it to WotC by reviewing and liking the new D&D.
WotC's doing it to itself. What are you talking about?
That worked, but the thing is, the way real life works is it would be just the opposite.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
What would happen is life would destroy Max's soul if we covered new WotC games and we got like 1 million subscribers and everyone loved it and we had to continue doing WotC games. He'd be like, "Oh God, the money." And then my happiness, and I'm going to hell later.
It's funny because I got a kind of a topic semi-related to that when we go into segment 5. But you guys, I know some of you won't be here for that, but that's the more open segment. I do want to say thank you to the 4 panelists today. Thank you, Heathen Dog, for popping in on a Friday. Lord Mateus and Sean, thanks for Lord Mateus first time. Great job. Thank you very much. Sean, thanks for coming back. Really appreciate that. This Sunday on RPG Digest, I will be continuing on with Twilight 2000, covering the skills, how to roll the dice, and then skills and specialties. And Heathen Dog is going to cover Rift's Thundercloud Galaxy because it was requested of him to do so, and he finally, gave in to the peer pressure and did it. And next Friday on some Rando RPG live stream, this one will be the future of tabletop RPGs. And we'll have Malachi on there. We'll have Timothy Farrelly on there so he can shoot back a Heathen Dog. And we had our third person drop out. So I don't know who the third person is going to be yet, but hopefully we get that filled in. We'll be talking about the future of the hobby as a whole, like how we see it going. So if you enjoy this discussion, please like this video, subscribe to Legion of Myth, and to all the panelists whose links are actually in the description. And I hope to see everybody next time. Thank you very much and have a great week.